Everyday people are my celebrities, but with Coach B. So if you can, you got to listen to this on the YouTube on your TV because I'm providing content that's too small for your mobile. In order to understand it fully, you got to see this content. And please subscribe because everyday people are my celebrities. We bring solutions. Okay, so I edited this, right? And I put the end, probably the last 20 minutes at the end, I put at the beginning, right? And of course, it's for those who have short attention span. And I think that we all need to get the part that's really at the end. And of course, you get to know a little bit about myself, right? My background, why I think the way that I think, right? My learning disability, dyslexia, traumatic brain injury, and a whole lot of other things, right? I think I really have great communication skills because I'm better at listening than anything else. And when I listen to people say things, the first thing that comes to my mind is solutions. How do we work this out? How do we problem solve? Critical thinking, right? That's just how my mind automatically goes. So when I hear all the things that's going on in my mind, I just start thinking of ways that we can uniformly do things together. Enjoy. So in retrospect, we have everything we need except for one thing, right? To heal our communities, right? To stop poverty, to heal our land, everything but one thing. To help our communities to stop the bullying. And by the way, at the end of this, I want you to scan the QR code, right? It's gonna give you a comprehensive plan of action of what we can do in your city to stop bullying, right? And that consists of some UFC fighters that we're working with, security organizations that we're working with, and training facilities that we're working with. And these UFC fighters will be training these kids who have been bullied, right? They're professional MMA fighters as well. We'll be training these kids on how to defend themselves, as well as the women, mothers who have been abused. Right. So half of the proceeds, when you register onto the platform, it pays the coaches, the trainers, the gyms to be able to train the youth for free, as well as the mothers. And then we also have a life coaching session, right? Because you have a lot of parents who have dealt with abuse. Life and behavior courses, anger management, right? Our youth need these anger management courses. And you have life coaches who have went to school and certified specifically for that purpose, right? That's what we mean by comprehensive plan of action. So a percentage goes to all of these youth who've been bullied so that they can defend themselves. Hey, may come up with the next UFC champion, right? And then there's a percentage that goes to our community, right? And that's elders who are needing additional resources. I think in Dallas there's close to 350 to 400,000 business. Right. If just 100,000 of those businesses register for $49.89, it allows us to provide resources to thousands of families who are needing their mortgage mortgage paid, right? Their car note paid, right? Food card, gas cards, electricity, resources to pay your electricity, gift cards. It allows us to be able to do that as one Neo. Hopefully that's making a little bit more sense. So we're using our digital hub, right, to help our communities. That's not even counting the advertising dollars that comes with these memberships. Now remember, Facebook generated $190 billion 2025 just off of advertising. I think they made a total of $205 billion. So just imagine what we can do when advertisers begin to follow the data, and we don't have to sell the data for them to advertise. How many more families and communities can we help and assist just with those resources alone, right? How many more homes can we build for those who can't afford affordable homes? How much land can we purchase so that we can learn how to garden together, mow our own yards, right? There's so much that we're able to do. We have to stop depending upon these people that wear these suits, that visits these islands behind the scenes. And we have to care about the youth, because there's people that don't care about the youth. They say when you get so much money, you're just looking for other things to do to pleasure, yourself. So this is about community accountability. So that one thing, got everything that we need. It's one thing that we're missing, and that's the community to register. It's imperative that when you listen to this, you go to umyonetwork.com, find your community, register, make sure everyone in your family is registered, make sure all your family and friends are registered, right? Make sure you tell everyone that you can think of, this is where we need to be, and we need to park, and we need to stop depending upon this government who we see has been divided and has kept us divided. That's what I meant by think differently, outside the box, critical thinking. And it's okay to be accountable and say, for so many years, we've chosen the lesser of two evils. And now it's time to do what? Choose differently. Right? So we're not telling you to leave the plantation if that's how you pay your bills. We're just sharing with you how you can create additional resources, even more than what you're doing over there. And we're going to share with you step by step. We got to do it again as a unit. We have the plan of action. And we say this because we are about transparency. One thing I like about something that's created and maintained and built by the community versus big tech is, if you're not doing right, people are going to leave. And when they leave, that's not going to look well. So we don't have time to play games. If you knew the amount of resources that we turn down for them to purchase this concept, you would probably call us crazy. But if we believe that there's a way that everybody can be removed from this matrix and learn how to properly operate alongside AI, because it's not going anywhere. we have to start thinking about our children. And let me say this real quick as well. And that's for those who operate as soulless. You know, you want to, everything you do, you want to operate alone. There's going to come a time, right, where there's going to be a knock at your door. And you're no longer going to be able to operate like you're operating now. So you can still do this for your family, right? If you have children, for your children, the future of your children, and still operate soulless. So no matter what your thoughts are, no matter what your, what is it called, conflict of interest is, you can still operate as one. Now we already know there's going to be some that's not, because we know that you're controlled by different forces, different powers that be. You may want to, but you may not be able to. And we understand that, right? But we're not going to understand if you're trying to tear us down. Because we know that there's powers that be that understands the power of data, and they would do anything to stop that. But when you got the people, which is the real data, some will have to jump ship and come to a different island, right? We have an island of many diverse cultures, diverse interests, right? And all of them are protected. So when you come to our ecosystems or our islands, right, they come with their own rules and regulations that everyone must abide by, or you get kicked out. Right? You can go back to the free plantation. We're protecting those who come here because we've never learned what protection looks like or feel like. Right? And what I like more than anything is just the opportunity that we'll be able to provide courses for those who may need education, right, in some areas that they lack when it comes to the central nervous system. Those who need to be treated for mental health concerns, anger issues, right, hurt, unresolved traumas, right? And for some of you who do not know my story or have heard my story, in the 5th grade, I was diagnosed with traumatic brain injury, right, from abuse, right? So I had to learn at a very young age how to problem solve because I didn't or wasn't able to retain information, right? So I had to always think outside the box. I was one of those kids who used to stay in the house when everybody was outside playing because I had to come up with different concepts as to how to pass my test, right? Imagine taking a test and you're not knowing any, you're not knowing any of the answers, right? But when you have multiple choices, you're able to find the answers based upon problem solving. And it took me a while to figure it out. I think when I did my SAT, I made a great score on my SAT, but I did not know one answer on that SAT. So that's where I got my critical thinking skills from. So I never really learned the Western educational system. So I wasn't able to, or let's just say I had to use a different part of my brain that some people are not able to use, right? So I may not have the skill set that I would like when it comes to communicating, right? Like using the right phrases. But I can write. I can write like hell. Love journalism. Journalism was my course. I can write anything. So I may talk slower because I'm trying to think of the words that I'm trying to use. And I don't have a very big vocabulary, right, at the same time. So I use words that maybe a 5th or 6th grader would be able to understand, because that's when my brain injury happened as a 5th grader. So I was like 10 years old, right? So I just hope that when you listen to this, you're able to grasp what it is that I'm saying. I've always been told that I've been different, and I know that I've always been different. And most people never even know why I communicate the way that I do, or why I just have love for people, right? Especially the melanated skin. But I challenge all of the Europeans, those who have been told that you owe us something, right? I challenge you to just take care of your own, right? You take care of your own. You'll be surprised that the way this software is, it allows everyone to still eat and everyone to still win, right? But by you supporting, it lets us know one thing, is that you see the bigger picture and you see the vision, right? And if you don't support, I think by the time we get the melanated people to join, it's going to be a lot of changes, right? As to what stores we're going to be going to, what stores we're going to be shopping at, right? Because when you have the voices and you're sharing with the people that you're looking out for them, they're going to make sure that, and it goes for the Asians as well. We've shopped at your establishment for years and years and years, and there's no accountability. But there's never been anything, a plan of action or a software set in place to where everyone is now going to be held accountable, right? So it's going to be expected for you to be able to, or have to, right, join if you want the melanated skin, the brown skin, resources and dollars, right? So this is definitely an invite. Look at this as a Walmart, right? Walmart don't turn down ethnicities, because the almighty dollar is still needed at this particular time, right? And the more dollars, the more we're able to create. So we support only those who support community, as community support those businesses who supports the melanated new communities that we have created. But we have communities for Asians, we have communities for the brown skin, which are the Hispanics, we have communities for Europeans, we have communities for those who want to be a part of, whereas all people, we have, it's unlimited communities that we've created. So that way it's no excuses.
Music You should control the politics of your community, the economy of your community, and all of the society in which you live should be under your control. But when you go to a church and you see the pastor of that church with a philosophy and a program that's designed to bring black people together and elevate black people, join that church. Join any kind of organization, civic, religious, fraternal, political, or otherwise, that's based on lifting the black man up and making him master of his own community.
And we as a generation is so easily triggered that it could cost you your friendship, your relationship, your mental health, simply challenging one's truth. How many relationships the COVID broke up? How many marriages? I grew up, right, with the pops who would would literally backslap you if you ever questioned him. So he was always right, even when he was wrong. We have to start fact-checking everything we've been taught. Otherwise, their truth becomes your truth, even when it's a lie. They told us first to wait. They told us to depend. They told us someone else would come and fix what's broken. But the truth is, a community that wants to be taken seriously must first take itself seriously. Not through violence, not through division, but through ownership of our voices, our choices, our economy, our data, and our future. You ever heard that phrase, if it sounds too good to be true, it's a high probability that it isn't? Who comes up with these terms? And how lazy have we become as a generation, as multiple communities, as people? And how easy it is to debunk that. I want you all to come with me, right? Come with me on this journey. Put away all your thoughts you've been taught, just for a few minutes of your time. Let's unlearn to relearn. Let's deprogram, and let's reboot a new operating system. And just for a moment, we all been affected by this virus, this Trojan. If you have music on in the background and it's the type that creates thoughts, rock with it. If not, turn it off just for a second. There's beats in certain music that casts spells, keeps us programmed. Or if you're under a spell, it's about to be broken, at least temporarily. The rest is up to you. Or if you're under some reefus, right? It's about to be tested on how good it is. And for those who may be spiritually discernment, you're about to learn something. A moment in time where misery is shared through genealogy, and the truth, or the lack thereof, isn't. So whatever you're doing, stop. Or come back when you have space, or you're operating in a space of nothingness, similar to meditation, right? And for some, the beginning of prayer. Big tech is called big tech for a reason. Our data, which to big tech means our minds, our brains, our operating system, is controlled and followed by our hearts, our emotions. There's two types of platforms, right, that big tech is investing in the now, right? Digital cards, right? Digital business cards, which AI is projected to take over the physical business cards within the next 2 to 3 years. And then you have the digital gated communities for those who need an escape from the negativity of social media. Follow me. You need to pause, follow me. 110 million investment led by, Index Ventures and Kochu Adam, with participation from Airtree Ventures for less than 10% prior to one of the digital cards becoming successful. That means they invested that much money into a digital card platform at the beginning. Unmasking your opinion, right? Unified movement for youth operations, right? Or youth opportunities, right? Unmasking your origin. We gotta go back to the origin. We're lacking because we don't know our history. We know his story, not ours. Umyo invests up to 50% of its tech into its people, into the community, into your data, versus the traditional financial investment where there is zero loss. Think about that for a second. Unlearn to relearn. Take your time and think, right? And because no one has ever educated us on the cost of tech, look it up. Everything I share with you, look it up, right? But because no one has ever educated us on the cost of this technology, we don't own it, right? Or the lack of education of tech. Our people lack discernment on what is introduced when it comes to technology. We become users of the technology versus owners. Again, who came up with the term, it sounds too good to be true? Research it. I grew up, right, with a pops who would literally backslap you if you ever questioned him. So he was always right, even when he was wrong. So much so to where, how do we say that? Don't question me. If I say it is, it is. So most of us grew up just like our parents. We don't want to be questioned by our children. We don't want to be questioned by anyone. Not ever wanting to be questioned. And if we didn't want to be questioned by our children, that also meant we never want to be questioned by those that are around us. So we become easily offended, unaware. So it created a society of people who never do their research. Are you with me? Because no one wanted to be questioned. And we didn't want to offend anyone. Whoever saw the great debaters? I was one who questioned everything. So I told my sons at an early age, I said, research anything your dad says. Why? Because I wanted them to become critical thinkers. If you could question your dad, you'll question anyone. Whether you're the mayor, the president, your mom, your dad. It's called earning my trust as a parent. Earning my respect. So they thought their dad was smart and knew everything. They would research and research and realize, man, dad is never wrong. versus dad only speak what he knows to be true, his experiences, right? So dad was really being safe. And I told them, I said, dad knows 1% of nothing. And they laughed at you. Imagine you got these little kids and they're laughing at your old dad. He knows everything. He told me he only know 1%. Surely dad knows more than 1% of everything. And as they got older, they would understand that 1% of nothingness is indeed arrogant. Because there's too much knowledge and information in this world to know 1% of everything. Now they see with AI, after all these years in life, now we get it. When dad said he only know 1%. Because I would have said, I don't know, less than 1%, they wouldn't have got it. I'm sharing this to say, we have to start fact checking everything we've been taught. Otherwise, their truth becomes your truth, even when it's a lie. And now that you have artificial intelligence, now that you have AI, now that you have other valuable tools at your feet, tools at your hand, your toes, to do so, versus respecting people you barely know. And they become an instrument, a vehicle on a path, on a journey to destruction, all because you failed to research. Research your pastor, your congressman, your favorite content creator. We become so lazy to where we listen to them. It sounds so good. Surely it's true because they sound like they know what they're talking about. Right? And we as a generation is so easily triggered that it could cost you your friendship, your relationship, your mental health, simply challenging one's truth. How many relationships the COVID broke up? How many marriages? So as a country, we say that we have freedom to choose our own truth, but we take it emotionally when someone have different beliefs or different truth. We literally take it emotional. I lost a friend recently, last year, 25 years, just because I said, it was the Kirk guy, right, who I said he should not have been killed for free speech. And I was called a sellout. The friend listened with his emotions. We are a generation that hear with our hurt first, and we have unaddressed traumas that need to be addressed. The world is going from one direction back to the other direction, back to the other direction, just like a ping pong. Same with politics, religion. There's a great division with women versus men, children versus parents. Again, a generation of emotional zombies. We have to unlearn, to relearn, but we have to first know that we know 1% or even less than 1% of nothing. I know when you go to AA, it always share that you have to share that you have a problem, right? Or any type of Narcotics Anonymous, whatever. I forgot that phrase of it, but you have to admit that it's powerless over you. We have to first know that all of us know less than 1% of nothing. And people are so impressed with wanting people to think they know something that we're competing with knowing nothing. And we put each other on this pedestal for knowing nothing. I know more than you, and we equate that with status. And the more nothing you know, the more money you have. The more money you have, the more power you have over those who believe you know something. It's all a facade. So if someone says it sounds too good to be true, do your own research. It doesn't take long to do. And don't be afraid to ask questions until all your questions are answered. At AMYO, we always ask community to read. We can spend hours listening to gossip of a celebrity's life and what they're doing. But we can't take 15 minutes that could save our life and the life of our children if we simply read. Our minds are too busy. It's a program. Takes us all the way back to big tech. Knows exactly what it is doing. And as we're fighting back and forth, you got the red, which is the dad, and then you got the blue, which is the mom, and they're continuously fighting back and forth. You got the religions that's fighting back and forth. Don't be afraid to ask questions until all your questions are answered. And at AMYO, we always ask community to read, to study, and ask as many questions as you can think of. We want to make sure what we say is not only sounds too good to be true, but it sounds so good and it's backed up with truth. Opening our minds to research everything. Don't be lazy and have people to research for you. And listen to someone who sounds educated and just think that they know what they're talking about because they sound educated and because you may lack the Western education. So they must know what they're talking about. Don't let their belief become your belief without you studying to show thyself approved. My son said to me, he said, it's not to knock pastors or whatever, but he said, Dad, why are these, and be careful, people are really watching, right? And some of these churches are sowing a negative seed. He said, Dad, why do all of these women who are in a church need a man to tell them what they can read themselves? And I don't want to get into the scriptures, right? These are the thoughts, right, of individual people that they're thinking every single day. And when we share those thoughts, we get into our emotions. Let's say there's a pastor who's listening. We immediately want to give a response versus listening, saying, I can understand why he would say that. Versus becoming defensive. Opening our minds to research everything. Don't be lazy. Been listening to politicians all our life. And before election, they tell us everything. We don't question, just listen. We believe based upon feelings. We believe based upon race, based upon Democrats, based upon Republicans versus democracy, versus what we see. And many times we have seen individuals win elections and we've seen no changes throughout the many years. And there was a question that I asked years ago and still and got an answer. What are you doing every day you go to the office? Because we don't see everyday changes. And we get pissed off at others who think different than what we was taught versus what we research. Think about that for a second. I've seen people that are on these, say, subscribers. They listen to a content creator and they literally get pissed off at others who think differently than what they was taught. Even if it's the truth. They get in their emotions. Something is wrong with that. And it goes back to the system, right? The operating system, the mental, right? The brain is being controlled. And decisions are made through emotions. What's the phrase? If you make an emotional decision, you didn't put any thought into it. A lot of us every day are making emotional decisions in our relationships and the people that we choose to connect with and the people that we choose to have relationship with and the people that we choose to listen to. You have the sheep versus the shepherd, and we're all controlled by who knows nothing, who knows more nothing than the next person. And we put them on a pedestal ahead of our life. Just because you know more nothingness than me. And because I need the same resources that you have, I'll do anything. I'll sacrifice anything and I'll compromise who I am. For survival purposes. And I don't knock me personally. And the reason why I can't, because if I did, then I'll be controlled and triggered through the decision that somebody else made that didn't affect me. I can't give you that power. Right? So you have those who know that we and Amyo was offered a lot of resources. Some that could have taken care of our family for years to come. But it meant that I had to compromise. We were offered to walk through doors with blinders on. But I refused. to compromise. And I understand why many have, because if there was never a solution that was introduced in your lifespan or the lifespan of those before you, then who are we to think that there's going to be one offered in your child's lifespan or the lifespan afterwards? So everybody is fighting for the mighty dollar in order to survive as bills continue to increase and the value of the mighty dollar is no longer mighty. There's no raises, but there's increase on gas. There's increase on food. There's increase on electricity. There's increase on mortgages. What is it? It says estimated that 40 million homeowners will lose their home in 2026. It's a complete wipeout of the middle class, and nobody is talking about it. We got the facade on like it's everybody else but me. I'm not affected. Close to 1 million women, African, melanated skin, whatever you want to call yourself, right? Research everything I'm saying, guys. Please. From last year to now, 500,000 have lost their jobs. These are breadwinners. What are they gonna do? Nobody is talking about it. Mom and dad aren't talking about it. And we have these people that's governing our lives. Right? We got people that are governing our lives. Think about that for a second. I know most of you have heard of the those that are in power about the E-Island, right? We put people in position that are governing our lives and our decisions, and that we continue to believe that it's more that we research, it's more that's going to be in trouble for what they done. They operate from a completely different rules. And some of us know that, some of us don't. Some of us still trying to lay out the evidence, but they operate from a completely different rule. They're all on the same team. As we continue to operate in the system of nothingness and emotions and feelings, believing that one truth is better than the next, when behind the scenes they're all going out to eating as we're fighting like cats and dogs. Racism, bigotry, prejudices, egos, greed, and we place them to make decisions over our lives because we can't behave as adults, as we tell our children to work with other children and behave when you're in school, behave when you're at home, but we can't. And we pretend like they don't see this every single day. How can you tell your children to behave and they don't see you behaving? How can you tell your children to stop bullying and they read in your comments on social media They see you bullying. They see you talking about people versus looking in the mirror of self-reflection. Oh, it's so tough to look in the mirror of self-reflection. It hurts, don't it? It hurts. I told someone I could work with a racist, and they got in their emotions and got upset with me for my own experience. And I like to call it for my lack of emotions, for not letting ignorance upset me because someone has the audacity to hate my race. Why would that hurt me to know versus hate versus hurt me because I don't know? Think about that for a second. Why would that hurt me knowing that you're racist if I don't know? And I'm able to talk with you or speak to you, and you're racist, but I don't know. But as soon as I know that you're racist, I don't want to speak with you. I get in my emotions and I get into my feelings. Once you understand your purpose, it doesn't matter what anybody call you. It's their ignorance. But someone will get upset with you because that's your operating system, your brain, the way that you think. People will get upset with you because they don't agree with you. Something is wrong with not you, who operate from a state of non-emotions because you understand who you are and your purpose. I went to a predominantly white school. I was raised in the projects, right? And we moved out the projects into a predominantly white neighborhood. And that transformation was crazy. You can only imagine. They was putting toilet paper on our trees. My dad used to be by the window with a rifle. He was from the military. He didn't like Europeans, right? And he didn't like those who were of the LGBT community. So we grew up hearing that. And we understood about the Europeans because of the treatment that we were receiving. There was time we used to get chased from home, from school. Seemed like it was almost every day until one day I told my brother I'm not running no more. Dogs. Literally dogs. Guys in trucks with the dogs in the back and calling us names, and we're running. We didn't understand why. We didn't go home and tell our parents because we didn't want them to wear it. But seeing your dad at a young age and not knowing why is he at the window, and then you wake up and you got KKK on your garage doors and your sidewalk. No matter how much he painted, they repainted. Get out of our neighborhood. So going to a predominantly European school, there was racism. And I had to learn those who wasn't obvious did not mean that they wasn't racist, right? So I had a choice. Do I care what you think about me? Yes, if I believe in who you say I am. Or do I research melanated understanding? You want me to think less of myself because you think less of yourself. And because you understand history. And you want me to get so emotional over what you think that I never question your ignorance. versus question why you think less of me. So now I'm giving you power over my thoughts, my emotions, my hurt, my pain, my intelligence, my knowledge, or the lack thereof. And now I know that the only difference between you and me is wisdom to know and wisdom to choose not to. Think about it. How can I shop at stores, right? Sleep in your homes? Because if you're paying a mortgage for 50 years, you're still living in their homes, no matter how you think about it. If you're renting, you're still living in their homes if you don't own the property. If I go to a restaurant, eat your food, and think that you're not racist and convince myself it's okay, but it's not okay if I let you know, or if you let me know. If you let me know, hey, I'm a racist, or I can't eat at your store because you're racist. Or knowing that you may be one anyway, and I still gotta shop at your store. So if I can support and shop at your mall, it's no different than talking to you, sharing how we both can work together to achieve a better purpose for my community across the street and yours across the street. I don't need to talk with you every day. I don't need to shake your hand. Sticks and stones may do me in, but your words may never touch my skin. Literally, we become so sensitive and emotionally triggered to where a person and people have lost their lives because the person that you're dealing with has what you call mental deficiencies, and they're out to kill, steal, and destroy you because you got to defend something they say about you, and you become the weakest link because you didn't speak up so that they could kill you, or you didn't speak up because you're weak, or you didn't speak up because you're frightened, as opposed to maybe I didn't speak up because I look at that person as someone who has mental deficiency. Right? Now, let me share with you this story, right? I know this person who father just recently passed, right? And the father was suffering from Alzheimer's, so he was cussing out his wife, and the daughter was so offended by what the father was doing to where it affected her. She started crying, and she was in her emotions. How could you talk to my mom like this? And she shared that with me. And I looked at her and I said, I want you to imagine someone with Down syndrome. You know, a person with Down syndrome, they speak, right? They speak out, and they may cuss you, or they may slap you, or they, so just something, just they have those impulses, right? I said, imagine a person with impulses cuss your mom out. A person with Down syndrome, and they have those impulses and they cuss your mom out. How would you feel about that? You'd be like, what do you mean they got Down syndrome? So they can't help it. I said it's the same with Alzheimer's. A person is inside of his body and he's doing what he can't help to do. And he can't prevent himself from doing it. But he's hurting. Because he didn't want to do it. But he can't share that because he's suffering. she looked at the situation differently. It's a lot of people that have emotional instabilities and frailties, and I call them mental deficiencies. They can't help what they are doing. And when you have someone who says that they are clinically mature and they're easily triggered by someone who can't help doing what they're doing or ignorant, then that means that you're not clinically mature. There's a scripture, right? It says, be ye perfect as I am perfect. And most of us think perfect is without error. But way before the Google, right? Way before the internet, right? There used to be these thesaurus, right? These Hebrew translations, right? And Arabic translations. And you probably know that English, America probably has one of the language with the fewest words, right? So when they translate from one to the next, we literally look at those words and say, we gotta go straight by this. Those words were best translated using the language that's available for us. So it says, be ye perfect as I am perfect. Be ye mature as I am mature. Not without errors. But we don't know that. Study, research to show thyself approved. Dotting your J's, crossing your X's. Right? If it sounds too good to be true, it's a lie. If you hear a lie long enough, you help me spread it, right? Which destroys logic. Think outside the box versus going along with everyone else's thoughts. My sons, and they get it. Don't just believe what anybody say. Research it, no matter who they are. It only takes a few minutes now with this AI, right? Just research it. Critical thinking, problem solving is what we lack because we're listening to people doing the work for us. And if people know that you're not going to listen, or you're not going to listen to anybody else or read or fact check, they can tell you anything. And it sounds like the truth because you are trusting someone that you really don't know. And all these people that are running our lives, then what we see is them in suits. But behind the suits, they're on islands. And we're voting them into office. And we still got to take a side, as opposed to saying we as a community have to come together and solve community concerns. I want you to break down everything it is that we're doing and ask us as many questions. We invite you to ask us as many questions, and you tell us if these questions or answers make sense. Who does that? There's a reason why people are going to these paid digital gated communities. There's a reason why big tech is investing hundreds of millions of dollars, because it's estimated that digital gated communities will become the next social media platform, because it removes them from the negativity. You have a voice. You're going to a platform based upon your interests. Imagine how amazing that must be, right? You got realtors with realtors. That's what we created. And provided opportunities where we can empower each digital gated community with the resources that our people need. Who can say no to that? That's able to think logically. Do your research. Don't trust, just like I told my son, don't trust anything it is that I'm saying. Do your research. If it takes you a week to read and you have questions, we're available for your questions. Research. But we can't stay divided based upon our differences, because that's what the system taught us. We just created a different system to say that we're putting us in different interests. You know what I'm saying? Based upon what we like. You got the Democrats with the Democrats. You got the Republicans with the Republicans. You got the Hispanic with the Hispanic, the Asians with the Asians. They can still communicate across to other digital gated communities, but they're going back to where their interests are. And they're taking care of their own interests, right? You got, hair and barber. The hair and barber industry is suffering. How do you empower them? You put them all into one circle, right? Into one group, and then you allow them to be able to do what? Collaborate and network and empower each other. That's what we come with. Is that common sense? And this is not going to be done by anyone that's in politics. We've knocked on the doors. It's against the system, guys. They don't want you to listen to this. Because if you hear this and you listen to this, it empowers you to be able to critically think and to problem solve. I'm sure this last story, my son's it's another story about critical thinking, right? But I wanted them to, again, I want to go back a little bit. I wanted them to question everything it is that their father was saying. Because now they're able to fact check everything. They're not going to believe just what you say because you say it. That's how our children should be. They're not controlled by emotions. Well, you got to be controlled by some form of emotions to be into this program. But you get the point. I had two of my sons, a year apart, was having a disagreement. So I called him into the room and I said, what is this disagreement you guys are having? Well, he came inside of my room and he took my remote control. Okay. I said, watch you take his remote control and turn his TV. I just wanted to see what's on TV. Okay. All right. So let's do this, guys. Who know what conflict resolution is? There's 7 and 8 at this time. I don't know what that is. Okay, who knows problem solving? I don't know what that is. Okay. This is what we're going to do. Whoever comes with the best solution on how they could have made that situation better, I'll give you $4. Start looking at each other. They started smiling. You gonna give us $4? You gonna give us $4? Yeah, I'm gonna give you $4. Okay. And I'm gonna give you $4 every time y'all come to me and y'all work things out. And whoever gives the best answer, I'm gonna give you $4. And now they really look at each other and start smiling. I know what they're thinking. Man, we're about to make us some money. So I said, okay, you Isaiah first, since you went in there and took his remote control. I could have asked that and said, hey, can I see the remote and just see what's on television? It's okay, it's a good answer. And I said that would have left him with the option of what? To say no or yes. I said, okay, good. So I said, Isaac, you. Well, Daddy should have stayed in his room and watched his own television. So Isaac, you went, pulled out, had a $5 bill. I said, you can keep the change. So they looked at each other again. So then the question was posed. So every time we come to you, you gonna give us $5? I said, no, I said $4. I just didn't have change. And they look at each other and start laughing or smiling. So now imagine they're coming to me now 3 or 4 times a day. Imagine over a month period while they're thinking they're getting over on their dad. They're learning conflict resolution. Imagine a month to 6 years, 6 years to 12 years. You're doing the same thing. It means you don't have to fight. You can always sit down and come to a resolution, problem solving. And you'll always have dad, the one person that you believe have all the answers when he really knows 1%, less than 1% of nothingness. But you trust him enough to where still to this day I can always go to dad and he'll be there to help and give me a solution of the 1% of nothingness that he has. So imagine the educators who are saying, oh my God, your sons, they think like adults. The way that they work with the other youth and their problem solving skills is just, and how they stop and they provide all these solutions. Like, oh my God, they're just, don't have to be born to problem solve. You train them at a very young age. While they thought they was manipulating me, because I always share with individuals, manipulation can be good. It doesn't always have to be negative. They thought they was manipulating me for $4. When in respect, I was manipulating them to learn to use money, right? So that they can learn critical thinking skills, so that they can learn problem solving, so that they can learn that as brothers we don't have to fight each other. And we'll always have our thinking cap on. And while people are operating in their emotions, you're feeling different. Like, oh my God, Dad, people are, what's going on with this world? It's because you guys learn critical thinking skills at a young age. Raise a child in the way of wisdom. When he shall grow old, he will never depart. Raise a child in the way of the Most High. Raise a child in negativity. When he grow old, what do we have? A society of negativity. Social media is negativity, which is why people are investing into paid digital communities, because they don't mind paying for security. And you got some of these platforms that start off at $91 a month. No different from the physical community. If you watch around you now, you're going to see there's more communities now, right, that are gated. And they're paying the money for gated, but they don't mind because they want to keep the violence, the negativity, the criminals out. Why do you think melanated skin and the brown skin are always the last to know about these digital communities? Look at our societies. Look at our communities. It's not just because of the finances, and they don't want us to receive the finances because we're not invited. Because, be honest, we act like animals. We're all operating out of our emotions. We're afraid. We're frightened. So with Umpio, we're coming to you saying we're not charging $91 a month for you to get inside our gated communities. We're charging, the lowest price is $2.54. But what do you get for that? That's what I want you to read for yourself. safety, the establishment of trust again, economic opportunities, economic empowerment. Facebook generated 300 billion. If we created 300 billion, just imagine that going back into each of these communities and how that can help each and every person in these communities. But if I want you to stay on the free plantation as I continue to make billions of dollars off of you, I already know that you like everything free. So you're not going to go to a paid when you can get it for free, because you don't understand the value of being protected, because you've never been protected before. You don't understand the value of love, because you never received love. You don't understand the value of owning your own data. You don't understand the value of, you go down the street and you see condos that are being built, and you see apartments, new apartments, and new stations, what they call it, gas stations, convenience stores. Who's owning those things? And yet we tell our youth that they can do and they can achieve everything. Well, the only thing that we do is we buy. We want the finest purse, the finest car. Versus learning how to invest your money, your capital. And if somebody come to you, how many people have been ripped off? Like losing millions of dollars off of investment. All of these new ideas and multi-level marketing and Ponzi schemes. Like, we've been bamboozled, led astray, hoodwinked. And because, again, there's no solution that we've ever seen, and we don't think one is ever coming, so we're all waiting for the Most High to come and try to live the best life that we can. We manipulate others from the negativity perspective. But what if there was technology, when we're going into a tech generation, that share with you, you could still stay on the old plantation. Let's rake up as much resources as you can on the old plantation. Let's do that. Don't stop that. Don't stop that. Don't stop that. Now let us share with you how you can bring yourself, not your resources, yourself, and the data, not the algorithm, but the data, and how you can empower your community as one Neo. You heard of the rat race? You heard of the Matrix? You ever wonder why there was never a solution on how to get to the Matrix? Because she didn't have the solution. But she knew that there was somebody who's going to watch it that would be able to say, I got it. I saw it. Who is Neo? Neo is not one person. Neo is everybody part that's operating their purpose. But they have to mentally not be controlled by the program, so that everyone can get out of the Matrix and stay out of the Matrix. This is only the beginning. And everything we do is a step-by-step plan of action. We're not asking you for $91 a month for safety. We're sharing with you how our platforms start at $2.54. We're sharing with you how we can use those resources to empower those who have been bullied, empower the elderly, empower those who do not have resources to pay their bills, their car notes. Right? We're not in this for the money. And if we were, you would have never heard of us, because we would have sold out when the offer came to us. Because of course we've been called ignorant and stupid because we didn't. But we're talking to people who've never seen a solution. But if the Most High gives you a purpose, and it's a solution that can help multiple communities, there's going to be people that's going to do whatever they can to stop you. Because it's not going to come from them. It has to come from you. You who's listening today, choose a hub. Choose a hub based upon your interests, and let us do the rest. Enjoy the marketplace within your hub. Enjoy the digital card, right? The digital business cards. Everybody get one. You got a community card. For those who understand, back in the days, I used to have the yellow and white pages, right? Right. Well, we've established a yellow and white digital card directory, right? So I can find not your personal address, your social media address. And your card will pop up and it'll share with us everything you want us to know. You don't have to put any personal information in there, right? And on the back end, it's a social, so sort of like a Facebook Messenger, where you're able to message each other, right? So, thank you again. Everyday people are my celebrities, and I'm Coach B.